By the time you see this video, it's probably going to be in the middle of February.
Life has really gotten in the way and I've been so busy with my new job that I have been unable to post this video like I wanted to in February. We're actually in the second week of March right now, and I put a lot of effort into this video and I just don't want it to go to waste because I think a lot of the information will still be very relevant for you. So regardless of the fact I did not post this video in February, I hope you still enjoy it.
Life has really gone into the way where I've been heads down with my new job, and I got really sick for 2.5 weeks while I was in Texas for work. But just like any recent videos, I absolutely love doing these because it means it's a new clean slate for me and I get to reset some new goals that I can prioritize for the new month. If you downloaded my yearly Notion template, if you made it this far into my videos, I cannot thank you enough for still being here with me and checking in on how I'm doing with my goals, but most importantly, how my videos are helping you achieve your goals for the remainder of the year. I'm gonna break this video up into 5 parts today, which is first, my yearly goals review, January reflections and any goals I want to highlight, February reset and new goals. I also want to talk about how to avoid burnout at work or at school. And lastly, I want to go over my hobbies and how I'm actually keeping up with them, which to be honest with you, I don't even know what my hobbies are. First thing we're going to talk about is where I am with my yearly goals. I've actually made some pretty good progress with a lot of my goals this year, which I'm super proud about. But again, remember, a lot of these percentages are not the true percentage because you still need to include all the goals that pertain to a specific yearly goals. We'll go deeper into that a little later into the video, but let's take a look and see how I'm doing so far this year. In my last video, one of the goals that I really want to prioritize was downsizing my closet. And believe it or not, I was pretty surprised I was able to get that done in the short amount of time. I think a big part why I really wanted to focus on this goal was I was just seeing how cluttered my apartment was starting to look, and I was getting to the point where I was feeling almost claustrophobic in my own apartment, and I don't think that's really healthy when you feel claustrophobic in your own living space. So I think because of that specific feeling that I had, that really helped me feel more motivated to try to downsize as much as possible. But I think being able to complete this goal really felt like such a big weight off of my shoulders because it is something that I've been wanting to tackle for so many months, and I'm just really glad that I can actually say this one is complete. Another goal that I felt really good that I'm able to check off is finding a professional female mentor. And luckily that female mentor is my boss, which I have to say I feel so blessed. I have such an amazing woman mentor that I've been looking over for so long. In my last video, or I think in a couple of my videos, I might have mentioned that my current mentors are men, and I sometimes feel like I can't always relate with them. The best part is she can actually relate with me, which I think is one of the hardest things when it comes to being able to find a mentor. This was very exciting for me that I'm able to finally say I can check this one off because I now have such an amazing female mentor, and I'm very excited about this one. Now, another goal that I actually completed a lot earlier than what I had intended to was always learn better management practices. And I think the way I had initially structured this one was taking several courses that really pertain to better management practices, but my job actually does require me to always exercise these skills. I've definitely had noticed a huge improvement in myself. I could probably highlight what I've done in order to say I actually completed this goal. One is actually taking into consideration of how I'm actually managing myself, my projects, and the people that I work with. I think being able to reflect often and finding ways to improve on that is how you can measure your overall success. But also, if you want to find a way to keep yourself accountable with that, I would highly suggest setting this as a goal and then setting the expectations with your manager. I was pretty surprised that my manager felt like I met this goal a lot quicker than what I had actually intended, and to some degree I feel really great and confident that this is an area that I feel really good around. But at the same time, I feel like there are still areas of improvement, and getting that validation from my own manager when she tells me that I've exceeded her expectations is a validation for me that I have succeeded in this goal. So I'm happy to check this one off for the year. Other goals that I feel like that I have made a lot of good progress on, you'll be surprised why finding a car for work travels is still at 61.9%. The reason why for this specific one is I still actually have some goals in here that's related to, other than obviously buying a car, I still have other tasks that I really need to do. Learning about my car itself, I actually still need to register my car. It is a little bit of a process, especially when you have a full-time job. You don't really have the flexibility to part of the day to take care of your car or anything like that. This is something I have to do during the weekends, and it's definitely a challenge that I have to keep certain things off only towards the weekends. But anyway, this is a goal that I still need to hurry up and complete. Another goal that I really want to talk about is release at least 3 videos for YouTube per month. Now, in one of my last videos, I mentioned that I really want to try releasing at least 3 YouTube videos a month, and I already knew that this was going to be one ambitious goal, especially because I work full-time and I don't have the capacity to even edit or even do videos like I wanted to when I had a little bit more free time. So instead of saying releasing 3 videos, I'm actually going to bring this down to at least 2 videos a month. I'm gonna set this goal for the month of February, and we'll see where I actually get with this. Even though, like I said, this video is going to be coming out in the middle of February, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to release another video by the end of the month. But overall, I do have to give myself some type of credit because I did release 2 videos in January, which was quite of a challenge regardless, especially because of the new opportunities that were coming my way. So I felt like that was a good achievement regardless. But so far, I feel really good with what I've accomplished so far within the first month and a half, which I don't think is always easy to achieve, especially if you are a full-time working professional or a full-time student, or if you're juggling a million things at once. It's not always easy to try achieving these, but I have to say I'm personally feeling really good and proud of myself with how far I've gotten so far. Next, I want to talk about my January goals that I accomplished, which I'm actually not going to go over every single one of my goals because I actually had a lot set for the month. So I'll just go ahead and highlight the ones that were a little bit more pertinent to me or ones I feel like are worth highlighting. So first, I'm actually just going to go into my all section and I'm just going to set a filter so I can actually filter this out by the month. So I'm just going to select January. And as you can see, I actually had a ton of goals that I've accomplished for the month. Again, most of them were actually reading goals, which I will actually talk about. And other ones I felt were really important for me to actually highlight was being able to release my 2025 Notion tutorial video. This one was obviously a really huge goal for me because it pertained a lot to the yearly Notion template that you are using and that you're seeing on my screen right now. This goal was so important to me because this video pertained so much to the yearly Notion template, something that I really wanted you to use as a tool or something for you to reference in order to learn how to use my template. There's just a lot of intricacies in my template that isn't really easy to understand if you were just to look at it and try using it right away. You definitely need my step-by-step guide in order for you to understand how to use my template, and most importantly, how every little piece from the yearly goals all funnels down to the monthly and the tasks itself, and then the overall roll-up of the percentages that you're probably most interested in when it comes to seeing the progress of your goals being completed. And then another goal that I want to highlight is complete 30 days onboarding at work. So obviously this is pretty self-explanatory. It just means completing my 30 days onboarding at work, how I actually did with just being there for 30 days. It's just been extremely refreshing to have something more stable now and feeling like my life is actually back on track. But I just hit my 30-day mark and I feel really good with my overall progress so far, and I see a lot of growth opportunities for myself and for the business as well, and it's been a great experience nonetheless. Before I actually go into the books that I read for the month of January, I want to quickly go over my Dallas, Texas trip. Honestly, the only thing I really want to highlight about this trip, besides the fact that it was really fun that I went out to a new state, was I got so sick for the whole week that I was there, and then the aftermath of me coming home. Not that's exciting to talk about being sick or anything like that. Yes, I had a ton of fun being in Texas and trying new foods and seeing new things and seeing how people are over there. Next, I want to talk about the number of books that I actually read for the month of January, which actually, to tell you the truth, is probably better if I just go down to where my yearly goals are and just open that up from here. And if you recall, I actually changed my goal from 50 books to read 75 books this year. I felt like this would be a really good challenge for me to try reading at least 10 to 11 books a month. One thing if you want to know, yes, I did read all 3 books of Rebecca Yarros's Fourth Wing series. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I do use a lot more audiobooks because it's really hard to do a lot more physical books right now. A recommendation that I have if you're someone that actually read audiobooks or listen to audiobooks is increasing the speed. So you actually have the opportunity to increase it from, I think the current setting is like 1. You can actually increase that up to, I don't know, I think up to like 3 something. So I right now have it set from anywhere between 1.6 to 1.85. I pretty much listen to my book when I'm working out, when I'm actually getting ready in the mornings, when I'm driving to work. But I would say that would probably be the most easiest way when it comes to getting through a book, is just by increasing the speed level. And so far it's been working with me. But let's actually head down and go over my January reflections. So if you recall from my tutorial video, this is the area where you can actually create a new reflection for each month. And again, the template itself is going to populate this subset of questions each time, and you don't have to feel obligated to answer every single one of them. It's always great if you can. If you can't, that's totally okay. But this is what I have for the month of January. The first thing is, what 3 things, people, or moments are you most grateful for over this past month? So what I've written down was, I'm grateful for myself, I'm grateful for the new job opportunity that I have, and I'm grateful for finding a female mentor that I want to see, that wants to see me succeed in my career. So I pretty much went over all of this during my yearly review, so I will kind of skip over this one. The next question that I have here is, what are the 3 wins or peaks from this past month? And what I've written down is realizing my worth, knowing it's okay to say no, and completing the first 30 days of my employment. So I'll go ahead and skip over the last one, but I'll talk a little bit more about the first 2, which first one is being realizing my worth. Just like when it comes to starting any type of new job, when there's a lot of nuances and there's a lot of new things that you actually have to learn, I feel like there are times when it's really easy to fall back into feeling less confident in myself, or thinking that any type of action that I do or create is not necessarily the right step to take. I think this is just really hard for me to personally wrap around. There are times when I just feel like I don't know how to realize my worth, and this is something that I actually felt like I was able to embrace in this job, and I feel like I've definitely recognized that tremendously in my role. The next thing is knowing it's okay to say no. I think this is a boundary that I've been able to set pretty early. I know that it's not always easy to set those type of boundaries, especially when you have such a high demanding job. A lot of things are going to fall on your plate, which means a lot of things are things that you might actually have to delegate elsewhere, or you might just have to say no. I think this is something that you actually acquire over time, so I know this might not necessarily be relatable to a lot of people, but ultimately it's an important highlight to me, and it might be something that might be important to you that you might want to incorporate into your life. The next reflection question is, what are the 1 to 3 pits or challenges from this month, and what can you learn from each of these experiences? What I have here is, it's okay to be vulnerable and not being able to prioritize my mental health. I think I put this one here mostly to share that it's totally okay to be vulnerable, and believe it or not, more people respect you for being openly honest about your vulnerability versus trying to fake it till you make it. That's a whole nother topic that I'm more than happy to talk about, but I personally don't believe in faking it till you're making it. I highly advocate people to be more vulnerable, because I think this is how other people get to know who you are, and it also teaches you how to be a little bit more true to yourself. The next set of questions that I have are, what are the 3 goals for the next month, and can you break these goals down into actionable steps? So what I have here is advocating for my needs, setting strict boundaries at work, and understanding some things are totally out of my control. So advocating for my needs is just being able to actually speak up for them and advocating what I need versus what someone else may potentially need. This could be in my personal and my professional life. I definitely have a tendency to sit back and do what the other person wants. I know that might not always be the most healthiest way to approach life. I definitely have a mix mix of being able to advocate both my needs and then the other needs too, but there are times when I feel like I have to scale back because what the other person wants could be more important to me, or I want to make sure I'm fulfilling the other person's needs. And then the last one here is understanding some things are totally out of my control. I feel like I need to learn how to forgive myself when I know something is out of my control and that it's not something that I can actually fix within the moment or at any given time. There are things that can't be fixed because I'm someone that really prefers to fix things right away, even if it's out of my control. And I think this is just part of something that I have to truly understand to realize that not everything can go my way. And the last thing that I have here is how do you want to spend your time next month, which is appreciating what I currently have and then feeling more confident in what I do. I'm actually going to skip over the last one because I'm pretty sure I touched on this topic the entire time while we were on this segment, but appreciating what I currently have. I feel like this one is tough because I think I have everything that I currently need and everything that I always wanted. I have the latest of the greatest. I just need to appreciate what I currently have right now in my apartment space or the new place that I might be moving to. So those were a very long-winded way of saying these are my January reflections, but hopefully that kind of gave you a sense and idea of how to use the reflections template, but also just kind of where I am with my personal life. Next, we're going to go over my February goals. Now, I'm actually not going to go over every single one of them because it's quite a lot, so I'm just going to highlight the ones that are a little bit more pertinent to me. First one up is going to be release the February reset video, which is obviously going to be this one. So I definitely want to prioritize getting this one out as soon as possible. And then the other one that I really want to touch is learning about my EV car, which, believe it or not, I don't even know if I have anything in here. Okay, I actually do. As you know, I have a brand new car that I'm very, very excited about. And I got this car because I needed a way to get from work to home and then home to work. And it's an EV car. I've never had an all-electric vehicle before in my life, so this is my first all-electric vehicle, and I'm very, very thrilled that I have the opportunity to even drive this car, which in fact I learned how to charge my car for the first time yesterday at work because I had to figure out how to charge my car, and I just thought it was such a weird concept that I had to physically plug in my car. So that was all brand new to me. It took me like 20 minutes to figure that out, but there's just so many nuances and things I just are so unknown for me about the car. Another goal that I have is my February Poshmark list. So I want to start getting to the point where I want to downsize things again from my closet, but other things that I actually have that I've been holding on to. So part of what I really like to do in February is start collecting a list of items I can sell on Poshmark and slowly start uploading them and just getting rid of things I just don't need. Another goal here is completing my 60 days onboarding at work. Pretty self-explanatory, nothing really major to talk about here. It's really the same thing. But another goal that I really want to discuss is release my next Korea video. So essentially, this is one of the goals that I actually pulled from my January goal into my February goal because I just knew I just wasn't going to be able to release 3 videos for the month. Hopefully I could try releasing this video this month because I cannot wait to keep showing you all the things I captured in Korea. I also have a whole streamline of videos I really want to show you in Japan, so definitely really gotta try to get this one out. Another goal I want to talk about is my travel to New York in February. The last time I was in New York was I think like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's been a minute, so I usually try to go every year. I actually track all my traveling itinerary in my travels template, which I will actually link in the descriptions. I highly suggest you to use that because that will actually help you create your whole itinerary and also help you figure out where all the places are that you really want to visit, which neighborhood's gonna go to, and what, etc. I'll also include the video that goes along with that template as well. And then finally, I want to talk about the books that I've been reading for the month of February. So I've been on a trend of reading a lot of business books this time versus the previous month where I was reading a little bit more fantasy books. One of the books that I really want to talk about is called Bad Blood, and this book is about Elizabeth Holmes and her downfall with her unicorn startup called Theranos. I don't want to reveal too much about it, but this is probably by far one of the best books I've ever read in my life. I totally give this one a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love this and I definitely plan to read it again. And another book that I read is Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, which I think Sheryl Sandberg was the COO or CFO, can't remember. I think she's the COO of Facebook at some time, but she's definitely held a lot of high positions, and I really love how she goes in depth about being in a leadership role in her position, what type of challenges that she had to face as she started to take on more responsibilities, but ultimately want to also become a mother. And then the last book that I read so far is Creativity, which is actually about, this also goes really deep into how Pixar was started and how Steve Jobs was the main shareholder of Pixar. I personally found this to be a really good contrast between the two reads. I also really enjoyed reading this one. Again, I did it from an audio perspective, and I kind of didn't like the voice actor for the audio, and I tried to get through it as quickly as possible, but overall, fantastic read nonetheless. And the current book that I'm reading right now is Girl Boss by Sophia Amoruso, who is the founder of Nasty Gal. And I think I'm about 61% done. I'm hoping to finish this book by end of the day today, but very similar to the other two books on founders. I really love how she goes in depth of what her starting life was like and how she had found her business. Okay, so I know I used most of the homepage to go over the goals, but let's actually go into the quarterly pages and kind of see where we are here as well. Something that I want to show you about what I have in the quarterly pages is, again, I had left these two goals in here just to show you that these are the goals I just want to keep in January, because I wanted you to see that it's completely okay if you actually don't complete a goal for a specific month, and you can always move this goal into the next month itself. So like I said, I just moved that goal from January to February, and again, if you open that up, because of the automation that I have placed in my template, you're gonna see the date change from January to February. So anytime you actually move a goal, it's always gonna change the date relative to the month that you actually move it in. But I'm actually gonna move that back into January because I want to keep it in January. Oh, before I forget, I haven't even done my affirmations corner. Today I think I'm feeling power, and as I mentioned before with setting boundaries, this is the affirmations card that I use in order for me to remember that it's totally okay to set my own boundaries, be able to say no. So I think I'm gonna select know my worth. It's okay to say no, be firm about boundaries, and be fearless in pursuing my needs. I'm pretty happy with the set of affirmations I've created so far because these are the ones that really pertain to me. And like I said, you can always go into the template itself and you can always change up whichever of the affirmations and change up the type of goals that you want to actually set in each affirmation card. So don't forget to do that if you feel like none of these actually resonate with you. Going below that, let's actually take a look and see where I am with my habit analytics tracker. For January, I was a little disappointed that my fitness did drop tremendously, and like I said, part of that had a lot to do with the fact that I did start a new job, so I was prioritizing my job over working out my fitness goals. But I actually slowly started getting back into my fitness, which I'm really happy about. But I did read about 96.7%, which is a really good sign. Usually I like to see that at 100, but for some reason I must have skipped a day. With content, it's at 51.6, so I didn't do a lot of content like I initially planned to. My journaling and my notioning did pause a little bit, and that's mostly because I was feeling burnt out from wanting to even open up my personal laptop after I've been sitting on my work laptop all day. But I actually have a backlog of ideas of new templates that I want to work on, and I probably will be doing this sometime in Q3. But since we're in February, let's kind of see where we are with my February habits. The habits are very much still the same. It's always going to be about my fitness habits, my reading, my content, water, my skincare goals, my studying, journaling, and notioning. So if I go right down, I've been trying to prioritize my fitness a little bit more and getting back into that routine, even though it is really difficult because I'm absolutely exhausted once I get home. But my fitness habit is incredibly important to me, and I try to make this by far one of my most important habits because it is something that really helps me feel regulated and grounded, especially when I'm feeling extremely exhausted or stressed out. So it's just one of those things that are a dear part of me that I really try to incorporate into my personal life. And of course, I really enjoy reading, so I really try to get all my reading out of the way. And yeah, if I actually scroll to, again, my habit analytic, I feel like I could definitely be doing better in the content area. And then, like I mentioned, I'm just taking a pause on doing any more Notion template creations until probably by the time we hit Q3. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed a huge hiccup with these roll-ups here with the percentages. I actually noticed that there was a bug in the roll-up percentage, which, by the way, this entire roll-up feature and the percentages is actually a native core feature. So I reached out to Notion to get this addressed and fixed as soon as possible. It was actually showing an extended number at the end of all the percentages, but there is still a bug in here because it shouldn't be showing the number or the percentage like the way it is. It shouldn't say 33.33%. It should actually just say 33.3. So it should only be showing like the ones of that, but still showing the tens. So I'm still gonna work with Notion to get this fixed because this is driving me nuts. I promise you, I'm gonna get this fixed as soon as possible. This isn't only related to my personal template. This is related to any other template that is actually using this roll-up feature. But that was the end of my yearly review, my January reflections, and my February reset. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about how to avoid burnout. I don't know if you picked up the theme of half of the things I've been discussing today, which is how I'm feeling after a long day of work. I'm spending anywhere between 9 to 10 hours a day in a regular working day, which is a lot. And that literally leads to a whole level of burnout for me. What this means is once I get home, I'm absolutely exhausted. I don't want to do anything beyond than sitting on the couch or looking through my phone, and maybe if I have the will, to eat dinner. So in order to avoid this, here are some of my suggestions on how to avoid any type of burnout at work. First, block out your calendar and set some focus times. This is a really good way for you to prioritize your week, especially when you feel like you know your calendar is going to be filled up right away. When you set some focus times, this would mean that you are setting a boundary for yourself, but you're also letting people know that you're unavailable during that time. What I do is set and block my calendar, but at the same time, I make sure I turn off any type of chat notifications as well, especially when you're using some type of chatting tool on your computer. There is a way for you to actually silence those notifications, so I highly recommend that you silence those, that way nobody can bother you during your working time. Next, set clear boundaries. It's totally okay to say no. I know it can be really difficult to say no, especially when something may seem like it's pressing, or if it's something that your manager is trying to delegate to you, but it's totally okay to say no and say that you just aren't able to do it at this time. As long as you communicate to your manager or whoever that's delegating a task to you, just let them know that right now is just not the time for you and that you'll actually get back to them later. And lastly, prioritize lunch. Yes, I highly recommend that you block time out and actually take the time to eat lunch and make sure you have absolutely no distractions coming your way. There's been many times where I have been unable to even have lunch because I get so busy with work that I'm doing, and I end up being extremely exhausted by the time I get home, or I end up stuffing myself literally till I am full once I am actually in my home space. It's really unhealthy for you to do that. You should definitely be nourishing and refueling your body, and definitely take a minute to eat lunch away from your desk, because when you're actually having lunch at your desk, you're going to be more inclined to actually open up your computer or check for notifications and emails. And the whole point of lunch is for you to actually decompress and just remove yourself from a working environment. I feel like part of burnout has a lot to do with not disconnecting yourself from your working environment and your work life, and you have to set these type of boundaries in order for you to feel more relaxed and nourished again, and kind of getting back into the rhythm of going back to work. This is a huge mistake that I definitely made very early in my career without setting boundaries with my working levels and not even having lunch and always saying yes versus no, and this is what actually leads to burnout. And I've definitely seen it resurfacing again, most recently in my new role, but I have definitely recognized that this is an area that I really have to set for myself. I highly recommend you to follow these steps to avoid burnout, because there are times when you're overworked and it's going to be much harder for you to actually get back into the rhythm. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about is keeping up with my hobbies, which, to be extremely honest with you, I feel like I lost a sense of my hobbies, so I'll try my very best to kind of go over what I've documented so far. First things first, I think I talked very extensively about it, which is getting back into my gym routine. So I think part of that is, like I said, developing a routine when I come back after work, especially when I'm not feeling exhausted. So what I'm typically doing right now is I try to go to the gym between 7:30 and 8, and once it's past 8, I just don't go to the gym. And then of course, getting back into video and content editing. So again, I think part of being able to get back into this specific hobby is just narrowing down my expectations of how many videos I want to try releasing a month, down from 3 videos down to 2, and who knows, I might even make it down to 1 video a month. I'm not even sure, but the more I set more real expectations of myself and what I think is actually achievable, the more I know that I'll be actually able to obtain and actually reach those goals. I know keeping up with hobbies is not that easy. Even for myself, it's really hard to keep up with my own hobbies. There's so many things that I've documented and discussed in my yearly Notion goals video, and I personally don't know if I'm going to be able to meet a lot of them, but I know it's okay if I can't, because the most important thing is at least I tried doing it, and even if I don't reach it, I know I can always punt it to the following month or the following year. Okay, so that is the end of my February reset video. I really hope you found this one extremely entertaining. I definitely did not have a script for this video this time, so if it seemed like it was all over the place, I just didn't do a script. I want to be a little bit more free-handed and be a little bit more authentic with these type of videos. Hopefully you guys were able to get a whole gist of what I want to discuss today. As you know, a really good way to support me is downloading my templates or subscribing to my channel. I'm really looking forward to making my next Notion reset video, or I might actually do a lifestyle video instead. I'm not too sure which one's gonna come first. But until then, I will see you guys again. Bye!